to bring in our Reporter Roundtable now. Joining us this week is Peggy Fikek, Austin Bureau Chief for the San Antonio Express News, and Bob Garrett with the Dallas Morning News. Good to see you both.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in. And we just talked a little bit about the latest with Uresti. And on top of all of this, he still is refusing to step down from his Senate seat amidst calls from those in his own party to step down. Do you see this as being just a matter of when and not if he steps down from this seat, or do you think that he will continue to ride this out? Peggy, I'll start with you.
I think that he will step down. I think it is a matter of when and not if. He's had a number of things to deal with since he was convicted, including a divorce action filed by his wife. He has another criminal case coming up, and so he may be just looking at when the right time is to do everything. But my guess would be that he would step down before his term is up, because he doesn't have any committees. He really has nothing to do. It would be pretty amazing to see him come into the next legislative session without any committees and no work to do. It would be kind of sad to see that play out.
Yeah, I mean, how awkward do you think that could be if he does come in there? I mean, Lieutenant Governor has stripped him of his committee duties, and also, you know, the Senate Democratic Caucus calling on him to step down.
Right, they've disowned him. They would love to see him go away, because both at the state as well as the national level, which we saw with Al Franken and Me Too, the Democrats want to have the midterm be about Trump and not about any problems of their own. And I have no idea what Carlos Uresti, he's a former Marine, and I mean, I could not possibly get in his head about, but it does seem like diminishing returns to hang around.
We had Representative Roland Gutierrez on the show this week, the person who has announced that he is going to run for the seat when and if it happens. But what about the possibility of a special election? There's been some talk about, you know, this is always kind of a toss-up because of turnout, and while this is a Democratic district, a majority, could there be a potential for some Republican to come in here?
They could certainly try. They did that with a House race in the last election, and a Republican won the special election, and the Democrat came back and won in the regular election. And so it's possible that Republicans could put somebody up. This is a pretty solid Democratic district, though, so I would anticipate that it would stay Democratic.
Any big changes from when you see special elections and the craziness that can go on with these? Do you think that this could happen in San Antonio?
Well, though they are such a limited voter universe, anything can happen. I do think in this year there's a lot of Democratic energy, so presumably Roland Gutierrez or whoever runs on the Democratic side can get all their friends and extended family and get a few people out.
I want to turn to the gun control debate and what we saw this week. A lot of talk about whether this will create a new voting bloc, as we heard at the beginning of our story, teen activism, and we're seeing that, and whether we're seeing that turn into votes. Do you see this being a big voting bloc that could potentially come into the 2018 elections, as some of these, you know, teens that we're seeing out walking and getting out for these protests get out to vote?
It sure seems to be a movement that has built, and whether it extends to the elections, I guess it remains to be seen. But with the energy that's there, with the very powerful message that they have, I think I heard one young activist say, you know, it's our lives outweigh your right to have a gun. And they're asking for, you know, not a ban on guns, they're asking for restrictions that a number of people think are reasonable and that they believe would keep them safe. And so I think it could very well be a movement, depending on what happens in Congress between now and November.
Yeah, a lot of these high schoolers will be turning 18 if they're not already. Do you think that this is something that, you know, continues through to November and beyond?
Well, Karina, look, Tallahassee was as owned by lock, stock, and barrel by the NRA as any state capital in America, except maybe Austin. And they've, largely through the force of these young people, have forced the leadership there to slightly defy the NRA and pass a package of things. Whether that will spread nationwide, I don't know that we're seeing it yet in Texas, but it's anyone's guess. I mean, but there's certainly been a mobilization of young people, and that has got to be something Republicans are scared of, because if you look at polling of young people, they are not breaking Republican in any significant way.
Yeah, whether it was meant to be on this day, the national walkout, the House passing this school safety measure, adding grant money for schools to be able to beef up some security across the nation. Passing that day of the national school walkout, we're also seeing some of this other legislation that's been proposed, Senator Cornyn's Fix NICS bill. What other legislation do you see them possibly passing amidst the controversy over the gun control debate, if anything?
It's hard to imagine they'd go far beyond what Cornyn is proposing to fix the background check system to make it a little more complete. There doesn't seem to be a lot of, despite some of the rhetoric that's come out, there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite among Republicans to do anything like even as much as has been done in Florida.
Nationally, also statewide, do you see any changes with the law?
Trump reverse himself. He said he was going to defy the NRA about, like mental health orders that temporarily take guns away or raising ages on buying rifles, and then within a week he had reversed himself, was back in sync with the NRA. I think you're right that, while Trump is pushing for school marshals and things, putting school personnel, have them armed, that may not fly in the Congress either. I don't think there's unanimity among Republicans on that proposal, particularly if you get outside of the sort of the gun belt. And so maybe all you can do is do the limited Fix NICS or making the federal government agencies report, as we saw they did not in Sutherland Springs, mental health issues and things that would make our current system actually do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, giving some options out there, but we'll see if anything else gets done. Stick around. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, our Reporter Roundtable tackles the resurgence of the controversial bathroom bill.